We just have to live these four. And if we live these four, we will come to that place of peace and ease that I was talking about earlier. We will be able to walk through this world that has noise and distraction and all these things, and we will be immune to it all. Well, listen, this is the second week I'm taking my talks from this great little book called The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. I love this book. Every time I go back to pick it up, I realize how much writing is in it. There's not much room left. Maybe I need another copy. But I always learn something. For how simple it is, I always learn something new. And that's that's what a good book is. This is the Toltec wisdom. I mentioned last week that Don Miguel and his family, his mother and his father were from this Toltec tribe that lived in southern Mexico, and his father was a shaman. He was trained with his father after experiencing a near-death kind of experience in a car accident. And the Toltec wisdom is not difficult. It's very simple. It's based on these four agreements. Last week I talked about the first one. Be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. That's the topic today. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. And the fourth one is always do your best. That's it. That's it. But these four agreements, I'm telling you, and what Miguel is telling us, is this is the path to freedom. This is actually a way that you can feel free right here, right now in your life. That's what it's about. It's not some far-off kind of concept that might someday work out for you. I'm talking about today. It's a path to freedom, a real path to freedom. That's what it is. But the thing is, you have to live the agreements. You can't just read about them in the book and then say, oh yeah, those were great. And you see a meme every once in a while on Facebook, and you say, yeah, I read that book. And then you forget about them. No, these are agreements you actually have to live. You actually have to live. And what makes them hard is that we have made different agreements throughout our entire life. We've made totally different agreements as we've grown up. And that's what makes using these agreements difficult. We've made agreements in the beginning of our life. For instance, when we were children, we probably had this agreement. We had this agreement, we didn't even know we had it, but you can tell if you watch a child play that they have this agreement. Anything is possible. Have you noticed that about kids? You can watch a child play and their agreement with the world is anything's possible. There is nothing that holds them back, nothing. And that child was us, by the way. We used to have that agreement. And then what happened? Somebody threw up a roadblock. We failed and somebody scolded us about it. Something happened in our life and we decided something else. We decided, no. Maybe we have this agreement still today. Maybe we still believe that anything is possible, just not for me. Anybody have that agreement? Anything is possible, yeah, just not for me. You know, those kinds of agreements. You see, that's how it works. That's how it works. We have these old agreements. And when we have these new ones come in, we're like, well, that doesn't quite fit. That doesn't quite fit. And we have a hard time letting go of those old agreements. I believe we come into this world full of love. We come full of possibility. And then we start learning. We start learning from our parents. We start learning from family members and relatives. We start learning from friends and teachers. We start reading books and magazines. We start watching TV and all the media that we have now. And we learn things. And we learn how to limit ourselves from a lot of those things. That's what happens. Miguel calls it the domestication of the planet. We domesticate ourselves to the current way of thinking. That's what happens. Ooh, yikes. We do that. All of us do it. All of us have made these agreements. Miguel calls this belief system that we take, all these agreements that we decide are the way life works, he calls them the book of laws. We each walk around with our own book of laws, the way life works and the way life is supposed to work. And what we've done is we've developed that, and we usually hang around with a lot of people who have the same kind of book, you know, because it's comfortable doing that. And pretty soon we're hanging around with them so much that everybody who doesn't think according to that book of law, we call the enemy. We call the other. And we get further and further apart. And that's the way it works, because we have our own book. Think about it, the big things. Think about the big things like religion, politics, the environment, social justice, the refugees. Think about all those things. You have a book of laws about all that. You do. I do. We all have beliefs about that, how that is. We have beliefs also about our own selves. We have a belief about what is possible for us. Don't you? What's possible for me? How creative I am. What I deserve. Boy, if I could name you how many of my coaching clients coach around that deserving thing. I'm projecting on you, but I'm thinking you got the same thing. How much do you think you deserve? When I did my coaches training, that was one of the questions that we coached each other about. And I was like, oh, I guess I deserve out of 1 to 5. What do you deserve? Well, maybe a 4. Maybe a 4. It's like, well, why is it a 4? What in the world? Why isn't it a 5? Why don't you want to be the best coach there can be? We have this thing about deserving. We have this agreements that we've made about not deserving. You see how that is? These 4 agreements, if we live them, we can get rid of all that. We don't have to uncover all these old agreements that we have that are hurtful to us, that keep us down, that limit us. We don't have to unearth all of them. We simply need to live these 4. 4. I mean, that's refrigerator worthy right there. You just put them on the refrigerator. It's right there, bathroom mirror, wherever, computer screen. They fit in your purse nicely. We just have to live these 4. And if we live these 4, we will come to that place of peace and ease that I was talking about earlier. We will be able to walk through this world that has noise and distraction and all these things, and we will be immune to it all. We will be just by living according to these 4 agreements. That's quite a promise, isn't it? So last week I talked about the first agreement, which is to be impeccable with your word. Well, to be impeccable with your word is to not use your words against yourself. Is to not use your words against yourself, because words hold creative power. You create through your words. And you think, well, I talk to myself pretty well. I've been there, I've done that. Yeah, right. Look in the mirror. You know, if you're not seeing the divine, you are selling yourself short. And you are planting that energy in yourself. Just as well, if we talk to others with anger and frustration, demeaning, judgmental, we are planting that same energy in ourselves, because guess what? Energy doesn't just get sucked into that person. Energy is all around us. We receive that in the moment that we say it. We receive that energy of dislike or disgust or judgment. We receive it back in the same minute. And so to be impeccable with your word is to decide not to plant poison in the world. Not to plant the poison of your words in the world. That is what it means to be impeccable with your word. That's a review. Listen to the. You can listen to the thing, video online. But that's what it is, to be impeccable with your word, toward yourself as well as toward others. So this week, don't take things personally. This is a tough one, but I'll tell you what, I think Don Miguel is right. To be impeccable with your word is the hardest one. Become aware of your language this week. Always become aware of your language. He talks a lot about gossip being one of the ways that we are not impeccable with our word. We like to get together with that group of people that agrees with us and yap, yap, yap about what the other one is. We do it. We do it when we plant the poison that we exactly don't want to have. Well, here's the big deal about don't take things personally. Now listen to this. This is a big one. Nothing other people do is because of you. Newsflash. Nothing other people do is because of you. It is because of themselves. When they say, what they say and what they do and the opinions they give are according to the agreements that they have in their own minds. I want you to hear that. It's the agreements that they have developed over their lifetime. He says this, if someone gives you an opinion and says, hey, you look so fat, don't take it personally. Because the truth is, that person is dealing with his or her own feelings, beliefs, and opinions. And that person tried to send you poison. And if you take it personally, then you take that poison and it becomes yours. Taking things personally makes you easy prey for these black magicians. They can hook you easily with one little opinion and feed you whatever poison they want. And because you take it, you eat it up. Personally, you eat it up. Yeah, that's what happens. You eat all their emotional garbage, and now it becomes your garbage. But if you do not take it personally, you are immune in the middle of hell. Immunity to poison in the middle of hell is the gift of this agreement. Oh. But we take things personally. God, we do. You know we do. You know you do. Why do we take things personally? Really? It's because somewhere in there we believe what they're saying. Why else would it matter to you? Why else would you take the emotion? If somebody told you were fat and you didn't care, or you were absolutely secure with your body, why would it even bother you? Somehow when somebody tells you you're stupid or you can't do this or whatever, somewhere in you you have a doubt. And that's why we take it personally. Because somehow we believe it. Why? Don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's not about you. A perfect stranger could give you an opinion. He could come up to you and say you're stupid, you don't know what you're doing, you're going to rot in hell because you're in a gay marriage, you have no idea what's going on. Why would you give that any thought? Why would you take that personally? Why would I take that personally? It's not about me, that's about that person. It's hard for us to understand that because you say, well, I'm hurt. Well, I'm hurt. It's about them. This is the wisdom in this agreement that it's not about you, it's about them. You know, I've shared this story before about my dad. Today actually is the anniversary of my dad's death. He's been gone for 2 years. 7/7/17. My dad, so thank you, Dad, for being my dad. But when we were little, there were 4 of us, 3 girls and a boy. And I remember we were very young, and my dad worked hard. He was a hard worker, and he would come home for dinner, and he wouldn't want the kids doing he wanted them quiet at the dinner table. I mean, you know how that is. Some of you have heard this same thing before. It's like, you are to be seen and not heard. That was the message, right? That was what he planted in me, and for a long time I believed it. Now, it didn't have anything to do with me, it had to do with him, and all the stuff that he carried, and all the agreements he made. I mean, they went back for generations, okay? So it's not about blaming my dad for that. I'm certainly not doing that, but I'm saying he planted a seed. Well, look at me today. I'm being seen and heard, I believe. But how am I going to make that part of my agreement for my entire life? Here's another news flash for you. Most of you here, I think, are old enough. I would say this. The statute of limitations has expired on your childhood trauma. The statute of limitations has expired on your childhood trauma. Those of us who are adults should know this stuff and be able to release it. It's not about me. It's about them. See, here's what I think has happened is we have gotten this idea, we are so misguided in understanding everything is about me. We have this idea of self-importance. Like, well, it has to be about me. It's all about me all the time. It's so extreme that I think we look for being rewarded all the time. We want to be noticed for everything we do. How many award shows are on TV? Oh my gosh, are you tired of seeing them? I mean, it's great that we have the accomplishments, but we expect to be rewarded. We expect to have a trophy. Someone should someone should certainly notice this article I wrote, or this craft that I produced, or this special photograph, or something. We're all looking for it. We're looking for the opinions of others to lift us up. Oh my gosh, we are so self-important. And then somebody gives an opinion, and it crushes us. Because that's where we look for our support. We need to get off that horse. Really. We need to stop. We need to get away from that. We need to stop taking things personally. You know, when talked about this book at my congregation in Durham. I said this, and I'll say it to you. If you come back next week after hearing this lesson, it won't be because of me. And if you don't come back next week because of this lesson, it won't be because of me. It'll be because of the agreement that you make about how important it was to you. If you learned anything, if it inspired you, if it didn't, if you're looking at me right now saying, I can't wait to get out of here. Okay, it won't be because of me, it will be because of the agreement that you've made about how important this is in your life. You see the difference there? And so I don't have to rely on someone else to authenticate me. You don't have to rely on someone else to authenticate you. You don't have to. You have to learn to trust yourself, though. You have to learn to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself and choose to believe or not believe what someone says to you. It's really that simple. You have to choose to trust yourself to believe or not believe what somebody says to you. Because sometimes what people say to you, you might want to pay attention to. When I get dressed to come here and I say to Renee, does this look good? She says, not so much. I'm like, I pay attention. I trust how she's looking at me, right? But all this poison that people feed us about ourselves and what our possibility is, and that we don't have this and don't have that, like, we have to be smart enough. We have to trust our own self to believe or not believe. We have to trust that. You see, we have to know who we really are. That's why spiritual work is so important. It's because we need to take the time to understand that what we offer to the world, what we offer to our community, what we offer to our family and our partner is important. It is essential. We have to start believing and trusting in ourselves. That's what we've got to do. We can't be shaken by some person that we don't even know telling us something that isn't true about us, unless we choose to believe it, unless we choose to use it. Maybe somebody's telling us something we really need to hear. Well, take it in and decide. But you don't have to be devastated by it. You don't have to take it as poison. If you keep this agreement of not taking it personally, you can travel around the world with your heart completely open and no one can hurt you. No one can hurt you. You can say, I love you, without fear of being ridiculed or rejected. You can ask for what you need. You can say yes or you can say no, whatever you choose, without guilt or self-judgment. You can choose to follow your heart always. Then you can be in the middle of hell and still experience inner peace and happiness. That is the gift of this agreement. So people will say to me, how do I live spiritual in this world? Everything's going to, how the heck can I live spiritually in a world that we live in? Don't take things personally and be impeccable with your word. Start there. So let's start there as we go into meditation this afternoon. And maybe just recall for yourself these times when you've taken something personally, when you've chosen to take it on, to take the poison of someone else, and to not blame them for that, but simply decide not to take it anymore. Simply decide and to trust your own self, to realize that nothing anybody does is because of you. Nothing anyone ever does is because of you. It's because of the agreements they've made. It's because of what they carry. It's because of the belief system that they've developed. And you always have a choice. I hope you choose to not take the poison. In this moment, at this time, in this meditation, I encourage you to release it. To know that it's not the truth of you. And you simply let it go. Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down into the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?